shows you the fact there's a lot of jealous people out there, but there's also media matters and folks saying we're going to infiltrate alternative media from the inside and destroy them. And they're tax exempt, and they're not going to lose their tax exemption because they work for the White House publicly. I mean, they want to shut us down. The system does not want you to hear this. And the answer to that is to redouble your efforts. See, we have power. We have power. The globalists are criminals. They could all, like dominoes, if there's enough of an awakening, end up going to prison. Like Ken Lay, Bernie Madoff, and others. They had another big company like MF Global disappear $200+ million. The fiduciary holding it was J.P. Morgan. The guy committed suicide, if you believe that. We need to get Max Kaiser on about that. I covered it the other night. So this is happening. And this whole system is this giant, tottering Ponzi scheme, and they want to take us down with it. Well, we don't need that. We don't want that. And as we reach more and more people, there are going to be more and more attacks. And so just realize that. And remember, it's not just buying books and videos to support us. It's not just buying the T-shirts or getting a Prisonplanet.tv membership. It's spreading the word. Who else is on XM 166, over 115 AM and FM stations, global shortwave, some of the biggest alternative news sites, well, the biggest after Drudge. Drudge is like 4 or 5 times bigger than we are. We're bigger than World Net Daily now, bigger than Newsmax. Look at the numbers. And the point is that we're the best there is. We know we're not that big. We know we're not that effective. That's why I'm trying to hire more crew right now, hire more reporters right now, hiring more graphics people right now. We're trying to expend our rocket fuel in the info war to really maximize the resistance and the awakening now. It's as our information becomes more and more credible, because it's out in the open now and people realize, wow, these guys know what they're talking about. That's when we get the credibility. We've always had the facts, but now we're getting the credibility. We're getting on the stations. We're reaching out. We're getting in the news. We're becoming a news source more and more. And all over the world, in Japan and Russia and the Middle East and England and here in the U.S., every day major newspapers use us as sources now. And as that happens, folks, we're entering the real danger zone. So pray for us. Spread the word about Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, PrisonPlanet.tv, Twitter.com/RealAlexJones. We got a bunch of fan Facebooks that we've taken over. They've got about 1 million likes together, but the biggest one by itself's got about 290,000 likes. It's Alexander Emmerich Jones. People wonder why it's spelled wrong, because Wikipedia has my middle name spelled wrong. So the fan that set that up, it's spelled wrong. And now, in a way, that's fine. The system wants to have my middle name spelled wrong. That'll just be more disinfo in their data systems. This stuff works 2 ways. All right, I got Colonel Craig Roberts coming up. I just wanted to get it out there to everybody to remember to support us, InfoWarsShop.com. But more importantly, because it's all the great products I believe in and promote and use myself, discounted, and then the profit we make goes back into fighting the globalists and making this organization strong against attacks, hack attacks, lawsuits, whatever the case might be. We've had frivolous lawsuits over the years. They were always ridiculous and defeated. It's just that you didn't have to deal with them. We are moving forward, and never for libel or slander. It's always just made up stuff like Alex Jones is a blood-drinking lizard. We're suing you for it, literally, and I have to go deal with it. All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us. We're going to get my good friend Craig Roberts on in the next segment. Getting back into the financial news here. Fed officials warn of looming crisis for economy. Well, thank goodness. I thought everything was fine, they said, as long as we gave them trillions and more power and let them take over everything and take people's bank accounts without warrants. I thought they'd take good care of us because they were good people. Also, some on FOMC said more stimulus probably will be needed, which means more select trillions just to their friends and others, and more stimulus to move more factories to China. That'll help. Here's CNBC. Spain deepens austerity under European pressure, raising taxes, cutting benefits, imploding the economy, and shipping all the money to the mega banks. So they can then come over here from Spain, the big Spanish elites, King Carlos and the Juan Carlos, and buy up our roads, which are illegal, but they allow them to buy up existing roads and put toll roads on it, which are then paid for with taxes to upkeep them. Just the money goes to them. It's a good system. Continuing here, yield record in U.S. Treasury sale. Investors accepted the lowest yields for 10-year paper in U.S. Treasury auction, and that's because everything's falling, but they think the U.S. is going to be the last empire standing. So all these governments are still buying into that. Also, rising costs, again, I mentioned this, push California cities to fiscal brink. Throughout the state, local governments are slashing services to avoid bankruptcy. For some, it's too late. Oh, and now all over the country, from Rhode Island to California to Michigan, to even areas of Florida, they're having corporations come in, and what the corporations are doing is raising taxes and saying there's no more city council, there's no more rights. We do what we want, we take what we want, we own your city now. It's like the old RoboCop, one of the RoboCop serials. The private corporation comes in, bankrupts the city by design. It's actually Detroit to take it over, and then puts combat robots on the streets to replace the police. That's all part of predictive programming, because that is the plan. And, of course, you know who gets the contract for the robots. You're going to find out, though, all of you that serve the system, you're like, yeah, robots on the streets. Yeah, watch. Just like I told you 10 years ago, they'd replace, by 2015, almost the entire Air Force with drones. It's now here, and you notice that's all being announced to you right now. And they're almost crashing into aircraft and are crashing on a weekly basis. And it's like they don't make a big deal out of it. You know, when 60-something thousand get killed on the U.S.-Mexico border, it's back of the paper. Because they don't want you to be scared or freaked out about that. When, thousands are dying a month in Illinois in gang warfare, it's just kind of back of the news. Because they've already gotten the guns there, so there's nothing else to take, so they don't want to demonize guns, because they've already taken them. So they don't make a big deal out of it. Whenever they don't want you to know about something, they just don't make it a big deal. But then, oh my gosh, you got a better chance of dying from a honeybee sting. Don't you want to give up all your rights and have cameras on every street corner and face scanners and license plate readers and TSA groping your family on the highways and the army running drills in your city? Because Al-Qaeda, folks, Al-Qaeda. I mean, you got a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice in 1 year, but I'm still telling you, it is scary, and it's fun to get scared of this. It is really, really, really fun to just roll around and shake in fear all day long. And coming up, we're going to get into a host of issues, but were you surprised? I guess the scope of the corruption is so great because the former FBI director was muy corrupt, involved in all the different cover-ups, but he's come out and reported what we already knew, that the entire university hierarchy knowingly covered up the pedophile operation for many, many years. Well, yeah, because the word is there on local news that they were pimping the kids out. You just don't think Sandusky was raping little boys at high noon in the showers because he was the only one, do you? This is an empire run by predominantly pedophiles. We'll be right back. Welcome, my friends, to another hour of worldwide broadcast in an attempt to awaken humanity to the fact that private corporate interests that are anti-free market and who are monopoly men are establishing a planetary government run for and by mega banks who are seeking to establish a neo-feudalistic system of total control. Thank you for joining us. Coming up later in the hour, I'm going to get his take on all of this. FBI former head investigation, former FBI director's investigation, says there was a 14-year cover-up of systematic sexual abuse by Sandusky. Yeah, it's come out in the local news via the publication and radio host that first broke it. We've played those clips here that he was selling the kids. And so they may be getting ready to charge the folks at the college with cover-up just so they're all discredited, because this goes into politicians, everybody. And I'm going to get Colonel Roberts' take on that from his research. Again, here's CNN. Penn State leaders showed total disregard for victims' review fines. Oh, yeah. No, they didn't disregard them. TSA didn't disregard your child. They target them. We're also going to get his take on new Homeland Security laser scanner reads people at molecular level. And again, this is just more quackery. It's like they've proven the lie detectors are just there to engage in fraud and was quackery. Well, now they just have high-tech lasers that claim this and that. And it's all part of all of our tax money that's been used to militarize the rest of the world coming back home here to the United States. But first off, I wanted to get Colonel Roberts on because every time I see a story in the news, like one of the people that responded, one of the, FBI agents that responded to the Shanksville, Pennsylvania crash. In fact, guys, will you reprint me that article? Said that she didn't see any bodies. Yeah, because it wasn't the jet aircraft. And just saw a hole in the ground, but that she saw angels. Very interesting. She has a book out on that. And Colonel Roberts died for about 10 minutes on the operating table years ago and had quite an experience. So maybe at the end, I know he's told it, but he only comes on a few times a year. But I think it was a couple years ago last time he told it. Perhaps he'll recap that story for us here on the broadcast today. And then we have popping in about 15 minutes in the next hour, Hadyn Parry, CEO of Oxitec. That's the GMO mosquitoes they're getting ready to release in the U.S. He's agreed to come on, so that should be interesting from the UK. But first off, Colonel Roberts was asking my producer last week when we were setting him up for the show if I knew what Blackstar, Operation Blackstar was. And the answer is no, but I want to get his take on that. There's also Operation 01. I have talked to some sources about that, and that's a program for mass arrest relocation. But we don't need to speculate anymore. It's now in NLE 09, 10, and 11, the FEMA plans to use foreign troops here. It's now admitted the public plan to use Canadian and Mexican troops in the John Warren Defense Authorization Act. We've seen Washington Post headlines the last few years where, you know, generals asked by Congress to explain program of foreign troops. We've seen Russian troops trained here. It's all part of an acclamation. And the first person I saw give credible evidence of this more than a decade ago was Colonel Roberts. We saw cooperative nugget and drills with foreign troops, but they could say, oh, that's for overseas. No, this is for here in the U.S. And now it's so overt, and now Army documents have been confirmed to be real. The Army responded to one we released 2 months ago, saying, yes, there are re-education camps for political dissidents. There's a new Army document out that's public. It's unclassified for gun confiscation. They call it gun evacuation, work brigades. So the fact that this is getting a lot more funding now, I mean, by orders of magnitude, and is going so public, that concerns me that they're warming it up, getting ready to go operational. Armored vehicles being delivered everywhere, drones being delivered, threat fusion centers openly saying, yeah, we are spying on citizens. They say the new threat isn't al-Qaeda. This was going on a long time ago behind the scenes, but now they're fully shifting, saying, well, they have the new garbage man training where all the drills are, it's conservatives they're after, and the victims are Muslims. So it's like, you know, this new idea that the conservatives are terrorists hiding, under every bed out there. So I wanted to get Colonel Roberts' take on all of this. His website is riflewarrior.com. I won't go over his whole bio, but I've known him for a long time. He's a good friend. We've spoken at conferences and things together. He's also been a syndicated talk show host. And he, of course, is a best-selling, what is it, #1 New York Times bestseller. He's written One Shot, One Kill, a whole bunch of best-selling books. He was